you should have the freedom and to have that space. You should take that space. That space is yours.
Mhm.
Sideways above everything.
So you are a woman in a STEM leadership position. However, only 20% of STEM leadership positions are held by women. So do you feel that you've seen an increase in your time in the field?
My grandfather was actually one of the guys that helped to invent microwave popcorn. He was a
Really?
chemist on Act Two, like the popcorn Act Two.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I go by the phrase fail fast and fail hard.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SheSpark, where empowering conversations unfold. Join us as we dive into the journey, wisdom, and accomplishments of successful women in their respective fields. Today's guest is Donna Johnston, a senior IT manager at Strategic Educations, Inc., a company which owns online universities and schools. She's also an ultimate frisbee coach, but we'll get into that later. Hi, Donna. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. So before we start and get into your job and everything, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have been working for Strategic Education for about 4 years. In addition, I play Ultimate Frisbee very competitively. I play on the Milwaukee Monarchs, the women's professional team in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And then I coach various teams from high school to college.
That's very interesting, and I'd love to get into that later. But I know you studied chemistry in college. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, my grandfather was a chemist, and through my entire life, or the like my early childhood, I always thought that I was going to follow in his footsteps. I was going to be a chemist. I was going to do R&D research.
Mhm.
And then I actually pursued chemistry through college. I loved it. It was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot about, specifically, I worked in polymer chemistry. And then in my early careers, I started actually working in chemistry. I enjoyed it a lot. I, over time, just found out that sitting in an R&D lab for me, without interacting with anyone was challenging, and it wasn't the space that I really wanted to be in.
Hmm. But I have a question. IT, a lot of IT is also isolated, right? Because you're still sitting at a computer and doing a lot of computer work. So what exactly inspired the shift from chemistry to IT?
Great question. A lot of the roles that I've taken within IT are very people interfaced. Scrum Master is very centralized around coaching and empowering other team members. And then being an IT manager, especially there, I get to work with some of the most fascinating and unique people.
Hmm.
And it really drives me every single day.
Hmm. So you mentioned being a Scrum Master. Could you elaborate a little more on that? Because I have a very base level knowledge, but I feel like you could tell us more about what it actually is.
Sure. A Scrum Master is, I like to say that they have a lot of hats and they wear a lot of hats. So sometimes you put on a coaching hat, sometimes you put on a facilitator hat, sometimes you are a teacher, sometimes you're a kind of therapist. A Scrum Master coaches and teaches Scrum frameworks. Scrum frameworks are just a way of facilitating how work gets done.
Hmm.
It's all built on a mindset called agile. And if there's one thing that anyone ever wants to like learn about agile, it's like the best thing is agile is a mindset. It's a way of being. It's how you are. It's not a thing that you can do.
Hmm.
So the thing that you do is the frameworks such as Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming. Agile is why do we do it that way? Collaboration and bringing people together rather than keeping each other in silos.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So agile is how you kind of keep manage your team, right?
I I manage my team in a very, I guess you could say it's an agile mindset
Hmm.
way. I want a lot of collaboration. I try to manage my team as very hands off,
Hmm.
but also very open. I go by the phrase fail fast and fail hard. I want us to absolutely like try new things. I want us to innovate. I want us to not be afraid of messing up maybe something in the lower environments, especially, and like just play around. And if we do fail, that's okay. I got you. You got me. We're going to work through it together.
Mhm. I actually had no idea that IT was such a people person type of thing. I thought it was just people sitting at a computer and doing their own individual thing. So yeah, that's interesting. And what exactly are your responsibilities as an IT manager, aside from just managing the project as a whole?
Yeah. Um, Besides managing projects and products specifically, I work with individual team members on where they want to go. Where do they want to be in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years? Helping them sometimes if they're indecisive on that, helping them choose a path. And maybe it's a path that might like divert a lot, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in addition, it's also a lot of finance work. I need to understand business finance. I need to understand capacity, operational capitalization, and expense.
Mm-hmm.
I get to also work with fantastic team members, and I'm sorry if you hear my teams pinging. Um, I get to work with fantastic other IT managers in facilitating what are our IT and business goals, and then bringing that to my team and helping my team determine goals that are going to facilitate the broader goals.
Interesting. Okay. And so obviously you didn't study computer science or anything like that in college, but chemistry is still STEM, right? So I wanted to ask you, how did it feel being a woman in STEM in college? Like, did you feel that it was a very male-dominated field? Did you feel like you were faced with some challenges relating to being a woman?
In my undergraduate, it was primarily men. Almost all of my chemistry courses, one, I went to a small liberal arts college, and I would say there were 1 to 2 women in each class. Granted, our class sizes were pretty small. They were 10 to 12, maybe 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at most, maybe I had 3 to 4. Uh, it was always male dominant. It's kind of rare to ever see another woman in a lab, which is challenging in itself because you never have someone to really connect with, because being a female is being unique.
Mm-hmm.
We have unique experiences and unique challenges
Yeah,
that
definitely.
come with just being us.
Hmm. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that? Because I've met so many women who are like, I would love to get into this, and they have great ideas. It's not that women are less intelligent. It's just there's something preventing them from going to the field. And so what do you think that is?
That's, I think that's a people, person by person question.
Hmm.
Um, it's always dependent on the systems and I guess, the barriers that are surrounding them.
Hmm.
Sometimes it could be true, just intimidation.
Hmm.
Sometimes it could be that the acceptance rates for women are lower,
Hmm.
especially going into colleges.
Hmm.
It's all very dependent on where you are, or
Hmm.
in, I would say, your current situation.
True. And you said your grandfather was a chemist, right? So
Mhm.
you always had that kind of like that motivation growing up that you wanted to go into that, right?
Yeah, my grandfather was actually one of the guys that helped to invent microwave popcorn. He was a
Really?
chemist on Act Two, like the popcorn Act Two.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, it is. I eat probably too many bags a week. I actually shouldn't say that. Um, but I always grew up kind of having chemistry experiments
Mhm.
or like getting to do weird things with my grandfather,
Mhm.
and it was a unique experience. But I knew it. That's what I wanted to do,
That's
even though it's not where I am now.
uh-huh. No, that's so interesting. Yeah. Um, but also, so you are a woman in a STEM leadership position. However, only 20% of STEM leadership positions are held by women. So do you feel that you've seen an increase in your time in the field? Like, what do you think?
So overall, really, women bring a unique perspective of experiences
Hmm.
and really a way of thinking that is often overlooked
Mm-hmm.
especially in top leadership
Mm-hmm.
meetings.
Mm-hmm.
There's also always the stigma that if you are a strong and confident female, often you are looked at as being aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's often said about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And do I need to reflect on that? Am I actually being too aggressive? Maybe. Is it often a male that's telling me that? Almost always. So, how much truth is there in that? And how do I analyze that for myself?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. See, obviously, I've never been in a corporate setting or a company, but I've noticed that in my own school where like if I'm doing a group project or just group work with a mixed gendered group, if I'm a very talkative person. I have very loud ideas. I like to share them. I like to try and push my ideas in. But I've always noticed that like I always have guys telling me, okay, you don't need to do all that. Okay, you can calm down a little. But like I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm just telling you what I think. I'm sharing my opinion, my ideas. I don't really understand why that is seen as such a bad thing when men do it every day and nobody tells them to stop.
You are, you should have the freedom and to have that space. You should take that space. That space is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Sideways above everything.
I definitely agree. So that was an amazing discussion about being a woman in STEM. I love that. Now I want to get into your frisbee career. How did you start with that? That is such a niche sport. I don't know any frisbee players personally. So how exactly were you pushed into that?
I ran track through college. And after college, I was really, I thought, hey, I needed a competitive outlet. And I fortunately met some people in Minnesota when I moved up there after college
Mhm.
that loved Ultimate Frisbee. I actually went to a pickup game, just like a game that everyone is just playing, and you can go freely. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, that is not for me at all. That is not as competitive as I needed. And then
Mhm.
I looked at another field and it had a bunch of elite players. And I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, now that I could do.
Mhm.
So that was kind of the start of it. And I've been playing for 8 years now.
And you're a coach too, right?
I am. Yep. I
Mhm.
coach Michigan Tech. I coach the men and women's team. I'm a head coach for the women's team, assistant coach for the men's team.
Mhm.
And then I will also be coaching, and I have coached the more elite youth club championship teams for Minnesota, and I will coach mixed in Wisconsin this year.
So you're a very skilled woman.
I try.
So would you say that it being such a competitive and such a team sport, has that gave you skills that have made you a better IT manager?
Coaching has made me a better person, has made me a better manager, has made me a better teammate. I have to take a step back in coaching, and it's about realizing the feelings of your teammates
Mhm.
and how you are impacting your team, whether that is coaching or being a player or a participant. I have to think a lot about intent versus impact. How am I saying something versus how are they going to perceive what I am saying?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't coach anything, but I teach dance, right? So I do work with a lot of younger kids, and what I've seen in younger kids is that they're much more honest, right? So you definitely learn how to deal with people more. You definitely learn how to manage your temper a little, how to just be nicer overall, maybe not show your aggression as much. So yeah.
Okay,
And
very true.
how long have you been coaching?
I think I've been coaching 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Interesting. And do you have any other interests, hobbies?
I love to lift. I am very much a like runner and a lifter. I play a few musical instruments, piano now being the main one. I am okay, maybe at it.
Mhm.
And then I love to sing. That's another one.
That's such a variety of hobbies. I love that. And I just want to go back to IT and just women in IT. What advice do you have to women who want to get into IT?
A lot of it is don't be afraid to fail.
Mhm.
Um, Fail gloriously, fail quickly, and find a coalition.
Mhm.
Find the people that are going to help you succeed. Sometimes that is your best friend group. Sometimes that is mentors that are much older than you or much younger than you, and that are going to help drive you to make your goals. They're going to help you think in a different way.
Mhm.
Finding those really unique people has helped me significantly throughout my career, and I think that a lot of other women and a lot of other people in general, if they can find the group that really pushes them, that is kind of that next step.
Mhm. Thank you so much for sharing that, Donna. That was really inspiring, and I definitely feel like I've left with much more knowledge than I came in with. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.